It says
There
now.
you go. We're now broadcasting.
I hope we are.
You just said that on my screen anyway.
Yeah.
So we should be live.
Did we make the dangerous assumption that everyone can now hear us?
I hope so. Yeah, you're live. We're live. We got a message. We're live. Cool. Good. So hello everybody, and thank you so much for joining us all tonight. We're working, so that's good. Thanks for joining the event Covid-19, What the Tech is Going On. It's an event run by Transition Partners and Women in Leeds Digital. So this is the second event that we've done with Sarah and Women in Leeds Digital. It was such a success the first time, so we had to kind of tap her on the shoulder, bring her back, and sort of, you know, get another one organised during these challenging times. And we've got an amazing panel as well for you tonight. So we've got Mick, Tammy and Cleveland, who I'm sure will all introduce themselves as well. So we normally love to run like 30, 40 events a year at Transition Partners, normally in the office in Leeds. We like to kind of supply alcohol and pizza normally, but obviously tonight we can't do that. So it's great that so many of you have still joined up when that's not an offer. So thank you guys. I hope you've all got a beer or a wine or a soft drink. I'm sure some of you in the garden as well on such a nice night. So the event's going to run for an hour, and we're going to cover a few key topics, which I think will be like really interesting for a lot of you at these times, you know, things that are going to be quite important to cover off. There's also the opportunity to do a Q&A as well. So you should see that at the bottom of the screen. Sarah will try and cover as many of those questions off tonight. If there's some like key ones that people are interested in, you can upvote as well. Obviously we've got a lot to cover off anyway, but she'll definitely try our best. So please bear with us on that. And yeah, other than that, I just want to say, I know we're all facing a bit of a personal and professional challenge at the moment. Anyone who's listening and needs any kind of like help or support at all, in terms of like Transition Partners and what we do, myself and the team are definitely here to support. You know, anyone who wants any tips with like virtual interviewing or like coaching around that, CV updating, you know, this is a great time to be doing things like that as well, or LinkedIn personal branding. Of course, if anyone's listening who's got any kind of like urgent vacancies as well within their businesses, we would love to help you try and fill those as well. So just please do get in touch if so. But yeah, we're genuinely here to help you all however we can. And hopefully you all really enjoyed tonight, take something positive from this. And I think really the main motivation for doing this, and I think everyone will agree as well, like Sarah, Mick, Tammy, Cleveland, we just want to try and keep our tech communities together and keep everyone uplifted, motivated, and just share insights and experiences from this kind of like tricky time that we're all going through. So that's my little bit. And Sarah, the virtual floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, Melanie. Welcome everybody. So yeah, I'm Sarah Tulip. Just to give you a quick overview, so I was asked today because I'm a co-founder of Women in Leeds Digital. It's a really important network to me that I built with Deborah Hetherington, and it's to promote gender parity across digital, but also wider diversity. I do some other things in the city. I chair the digital board, work alongside the team of the Digital Festival, and I'm also the digital ambassador for Leeds. So for me, the tech scene here and the digital scene is super important and core to everything that I do. And my day job is working as a director at EY, where I actually get to work with digital businesses and help them grow. So I see a lot of technology businesses, I speak to a lot of people, and this is really exciting tonight because I think we're all going through really difficult times. I think that everybody's been, you know, it's not one of those things where, you know, someone you know is being touched by this. Everybody's being touched by this. Everybody's in a difficult situation. Everybody's world's been turned upside down. So I think tonight, rather than maybe some of the serious calls that I've been sat in or you've been sat in all day on Teams or Zoom or whatever, is to have a light-hearted conversation, hopefully, but talk about some of the real stuff that's going on in a frank way and hopefully in a fun way too. So we have a fantastic panel tonight. So we have, all right, in fact, I'll let you introduce yourselves. Do you want to start, Mick?
Yeah, so thanks for joining us all tonight. I'm Mick Holden. I'm currently Head of Engineering at Covea Digital. My background being in retail, in utility, and now in insurance. Pretty much my entire digital career has been in West Yorkshire, and therefore it was really key for me to be part of this and try and give something back. And looking forward to not embarrassing myself because you pressed the record button, so it'll be recorded forever.
Thank you. Tammy?
Yes, I'm Tammy Kennedy. I'm Solution Design Manager at BT for Consumer Digital there. I've been there for a few years now, but a bit like Mick, most of my career has also been in Yorkshire. So I do have big, strong feelings for the Yorkshire community. So being able to do something like this when, like I said, it is strange times, absolutely everybody is affected. So it's good to be able to do something positive. And it saves a couple of hours off Netflix, so, you know,
Yeah.
it's got to be a good thing.
And yeah, you know, we're eternally grateful to you at the minute, Tammy, for keeping our internet running. So, you know,
we're trying our best.
And Cleveland?
Hi, Cleveland here, Cleveland Henry. My day job, Director of Cloud for a company called UKCloud. So I lead the health division, delivering cloud computing, as it says. As well as that, I'm a trustee at Leeds Community Foundation, so a charitable grant-making trust charity that supports Leeds and Bradford. And I'm also a non-exec director at Leeds and York Mental Health NHS Trust. So Mr. Multi-Job. So Leeds lad, and really, really pleased to be invited to take part in this evening's session. And like Mick, I hope I don't embarrass myself as we go through it.
Well, the thing is, it's been recorded, so at least it's there forever, you know?
Yeah.
So I think a really good place to start is to talk about our people in our teams at the minute. I think it would be interesting to each of you sort of tell a story of where you're at the moment, how it's affected your team, and how you've kind of transitioned and what it feels like, really. So Mick, do you want to lead that?
Yeah, so it's been an interesting challenge. There's been some Herculean efforts. So whilst I head up engineering, I'm part of a wider IT organisation. And as my CTIO quoted the other week, who knew that it would take a global pandemic to actually get our video conferencing sorted? So that's been quite useful. Our tools and technology has been really useful. We've been, there's been some rock stars and some superstars making sure that our entire business can work from home in the space of 2 or 3 weeks. And we're talking call centre agents and things like that as well. The really interesting thing is that we're a multi-site business, and we've had some ways of working challenges between Halifax, which is where one of our offices is, and also in Reading and down in Kent. And most of the time, our usual sort of situation would be that you would have 5 people in Halifax in a room with someone on a really bad Skype link down in Westmoreland. And this situation has been a really good leveler for everyone, because everyone has a fair shot at the conversation. Everyone understands just how difficult it has been for the Westmoreland, Kent office and Reading office to try and get involved. And it's been a really great leveler. So I'd pause there and let everyone else step in if they want.
Okay, Cleveland.
I think, like Mick, it's been quite interesting, isn't it? I mean, we're only 300 people for the whole company. Head office is down in Farnborough, so you can imagine a big tech office down there with people that turn up every day to the office, people that work 24/7, and about 30 or 40 of us, me included, that are naturally home based. But we spend a lot of time, with our customers. So that stopped. So that's been a bit weird. Moving from 2 or 3 days working from home to full-time working from home, and the rest of the business working from home, and that's been interesting. Not everyone can operate or has been able to out of the box operate in this sort of working fashion, so it's been challenging at times. It's also been, we're all in the same boat, so conference calls and video calls with children walking in and all that sort of good stuff have become the norm. But we've really tried to adapt to that around trying to just get into working in this way, being a bit more open, early morning. 9 o'clock, that's not that early, is it? But you can now get out of bed at 5 to 9, which is great, especially to me with no hair. Trying to really, adapt, be much more visible. So we have video calls where you switch your camera on. So I can't do it from bed anymore. But really just trying to adapt and changing the way we operate. Not only changing the way to just get used to this, as you guys just said to me earlier, we're 21 days in, but I think this is going to change significantly how we operate going forward as well. So
yeah, I agree. But I am suspicious of those people who won't turn their cameras on. I do think they are in bed, or
What are they doing?
What are they doing? Why won't they put their camera on? That is a big question. What about you, Tammy?
So at BT Digital, we're a little bit like Nick. We are disparate anyway. We're all over the country. So I don't think we anticipated it being quite as strange as it has ended up being. All of us work from home at least an odd day a week anyway. So I think there's this thought that you can just basically pick up your office from in the office, have it at home, and everyone will be fine. And we quite quickly worked out that's not reality. Being home 5 days a week is very, very different. That interaction with people, video is great, and we're a bit like usually it's have your videos on, please. I don't care if you've not brushed your hair, don't care if you're in your gym jams, put your video on. Don't be nude though, because that would not be good for anybody. But it's not the same. It's not the same as being able to just go and have a chat with somebody. So something we've been really conscious of is saying, well, yeah, it's good. We've got video conferences. We can keep the business stuff going. That's great. But actually what we want to do is still have those like quick coffee breaks. So we have virtual coffee breaks with people. And don't talk work. Move away from the office space where you're working in your house or your flat, and just talk just general nonsense, whether it's, you know, what your kids did yesterday or what you watched on TV, or, oh my God, you'll never guess what I did this weekend when I had to try and paint something and it all went horribly wrong. Anything that just makes it a little bit more normal and not all work. Because you can't sit in front of a computer 8 hours a day straight out. You wouldn't do it at work, you wouldn't do it in an office. So we're trying to kind of balance that side as well.
I've had conversations with businesses where they said that actually one of their big fears is that their employees are working longer days because they're at home, and they're not taking that time away, and they're, you know, it's not good for people's health. So has there been anything in sort of motion in your businesses to try and deal with that, or?
I mean, from my point of view, it's something we've openly and honestly discussed within my team. It's like, you know, to look for some of the benefits in this. It's a hard situation that we're all in, so find some silver lining. Like I said, I don't spend an hour a day now sat on the M62, which I am joyously happy about. So, but like I said, it doesn't mean, oh, I wouldn't normally get home till 6, half 6, I'll work till then. It's an actual finish when you should do those 7.5, 8 hours. And then on an evening like tonight, go outside, go and sit and enjoy a bit of space, do something different, find something to do at that time. But it's, I suppose for me, I just try and keep an eye on people, see if they do seem to be on early, still on late, and sort of have a chat and say, look, you're all right, you know, you don't have to do all these hours. If you're done, switch off.
Yeah, I think it's just saying that to people is just powerful, and just letting people know. I think we had a little conversation before, and I was saying that I personally felt that, you know, my role is business development, and I had to work and earn my place and keep my place within my job, and I was working longer and longer hours. And I think it's so easy to do and think, well, you know, I can just do another hour. I'm sat here, I've got nothing else to do. And I think just having those conversations with people and saying it's okay to stop, but you need to stop doing it, is really, really powerful. So we have a question. In fact, we have 2 questions, but I'll throw out our first question. So how do the panel think attitudes to remote working will change post COVID-19? And do they think we will see a global move to more flexible working? Mick?
I'm happy to come in on that. So one of the things that I've been considering recently is the attitudes have to change. And the reason for that is not just because we're in lockdown at the moment, so clearly it works. But in a world where we exit lockdown and we still don't have any sort of vaccine, people are going to have to make a choice about who they live with and what they expose them to. So if you're living with someone vulnerable, as an employer, is it ethical to go, well, the office is open now, I demand you in the office? So in that period between, you know, a global vaccination and where we are now, getting out of lockdown at some point, hopefully, I think that we have to be really careful about people's home lives and details that they might not want to share, and just trusting that, yes, I live with someone vulnerable, or I have a situation that I'm not comfortable to share, but I'm not ready to go back to work. I don't think that we'll ever go back to a situation where you have the classic interview of, you know, general person Bob, who's a candidate, wants to work 2 days from home, and it's an immediate no, because we've proven it works. And we're going to have to continue like this because that situation is so far out.
Agreed. I think it was the chairman of PwC said last week that he doesn't see the point in having offices anymore. So I think that's probably pushing it to the very extreme. But I think cities are going to look very different. I think workspaces are going to look very different. What do you think,
Yeah,
Cleveland?
absolutely. And I think I've got 3 sort of examples of that. So in our own organisation, we've been talking about increasing the size of our main office down in our main headquarters. We've already started to have the conversation that says, do we really need to? Or actually, can we be a bit more flexible with the workforce, that now more individuals work sometimes in the office, sometimes not. So these are the individuals that wouldn't normally have worked from home in the past, tech engineers, support, that sort of stuff. So we've already started talking about that. My other example is at the trust that I'm an ed at. Our lease for the headquarters, so all the back office, comes up for renewal in 18 months. We've already put on our board agenda in September around, do we really need the size of HQ office, the back office, as we've previously had? Because we've just sent 700 people to work from home. Productivity is actually no lower, if not higher, but also for us, and I think this is something that people are starting to think about, one of our biggest challenges in both the trust and normally is recruitment. Individuals that could work for us but can't because of personal circumstances, but work can still be done. So we're thinking, actually, this could be a real big bonus. We can have people that can, those early birds, not me, one of them, that likes waking up and starting work at 5 o'clock in the morning, and they'll do a couple of hours, and then, so actually, not only does it give us a great opportunity, it also gives us a new sort of dynamic when it comes to recruitment, flexibility, the type of individuals that we can actually bring on board. So I do think attitudes will change. I think some will always be, want everybody in the office, but I think we're going to see a general change. I'm quite looking forward to it, to be honest.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be more employee driven. So being EY, everybody can flexibly work, and we're quite lucky to have that. But I think it will be, the employee will say, I don't want to be office based. I think people will make choices, and I think if those jobs, as you said, Mick, have been proven that you can do them at home, then I can't see the issue otherwise. Anything you want to add to that, Tammy?
I was going to come with a similar spin to you. I think it's going to be really empowering, yes, for employers, because actually, if you're open-minded enough, it does give us new avenues. But I think for an employee, it gives them now the backing that they need to say, actually, what happened during COVID-19? Your business didn't stop. Did everyone come into your office? Oh, they didn't. All right, but you now want them all to come in. And I think it's important, for me, that work-life balance is something that should work 2 ways. So an interview is between you as an employer and the prospective employee. And like you said beforehand, it's like, oh yeah, can I work 2 days from home? And you think straight away, what's the bit? Oh, I don't know. Actually, we've just shown, I've just recruited some people who I have never physically met, but I trust them to do what they need to do and get on and do it, and they're doing it wonderfully. So that's been a real eye-opener for me.
There's actually a question here that you might want to pick up, Tammy, about people bringing on new people and actually onboarding people and how that's working. So it might be interesting to talk about how that's working.
Yeah, so we were in the middle of a recruitment drive whilst the lockdown happened. So we had interviews booked in, and they were in headquarters in BTC in London. And just to add an extra layer of, interest to that, it was just as Philip Johnson came out and announced that he actually had contracted COVID-19. So we were in a position where technically we weren't locked down yet, but our head had just told the world he'd contracted this virus, and we were asking people to come into that building. And we looked at it and thought, as in prospective employers, that was not a good message to people to say, we still want you to come in. If you want this job, you'll go through the tube system, you'll do whatever, and you'll come into our office. It's like, hang on. If we're going to get locked down and we're going to still do this, why not trial it? And we did them via video links. It was a little bit different. It was a little bit challenging, but not half as bad as we anticipated it being. We still had good conversations with people. It still flowed. They could still get their points across. We could still see what kind of, bit of personality from them. So that was okay. And then onboarding, we have some kind of good onboarding tools virtually anyway. So that has really, really helped us. But I think what we're also looking to these guys to say is, please feed back to us. We know they can be better. They weren't made to be for remote workers. So this is a potential for the future. So use that and say, right, how can we make that better? What went well? What wasn't as good? And how do we change that going forward? So it can be done. Anyone who says you can't recruit because we're locked down, it's not strictly true. Not for what we do anyway.
Yeah, so we've said that we're not going to do any experienced hires, but we're going to continue with our graduate recruitment, which is quite interesting because we want to keep building from the bottom, and it's really important for us as a business. But a conversation earlier I was having was about actually, especially with new hires, because we've still hired, is having like a lot more get-togethers. So like I don't know if anybody's doing that, but having like, you just talked about the coffee breaks, but then you talked about team meetings, quizzes. So is there anything fun that you've brought into the workplace that you wouldn't normally be doing with your colleagues?
So we have a pub quiz on either a Thursday afternoon or a Friday afternoon. It starts at 2:30, and you're encouraged to bring a drink. It sounds like I'm working for an alcoholic company. But you're encouraged to bring a drink.
Tells a lot about you.
Yeah, totally. And then we have a pub quiz in teams. So that is a Thursday or Friday afternoon thing. And it's one of the things that we've been trying to do to almost curtail people from working forever. So we're sort of saying, this is the end of the week. We want you to have a bit of fun, and we want everyone to sign off at that point, and get off, finish work for the day. We're having virtual lunches in groups. And then the stand-up or virtual stand-up that we have in the morning in our different teams, we spend half of it talking about what you've been up to, how's it going, what's crap, what's good, and then the other bit talks about work. So just trying to bring in a bit more personal bit to the way we operate, but also trying to bring a bit of fun, because everyone is in this situation. And one thing we've been really conscious of as well is not everybody's got an office in the house,
Well, like me.
There's people, sat on their sofa, in the bedroom, spending 10 hours sleeping, 8 hours on the computer in the same room. So really trying to understand a bit of that and bring a bit of fun around it. So yeah, just we're adapting.
Okay. Anything from you, Mick, you want to add?
Well, just to say that I'm suffering from internet problems, so if I don't drop out, it's
oh no, what a terrible time.
But one of my favourite things, so some of my leadership team are called Technical Engineering Managers, or TEMs for short, and every week we have Temple Bar. So we go on holiday to Dublin every single week, and we play Cards Against Humanity and all sorts, and like Cleveland says, it's kind of like work last, if at all, let's just learn a little bit more about each other and have that chance to unwind, because at the moment my interactions are either my wife, who I live with, or the same sorts of people around work video calls. And it's so nice to just join a call and see someone who isn't that familiar face and just talk rubbish. It's brilliant.
And do you know, it isn't such an odd thought that we're sharing so much personal stuff, like the inside of our houses and our families, and the fact that we've had a bit of a cry, like you're having really odd relationships with colleagues that you just normally would not be having, like when somebody asks you in the morning, do you have a nice weekend? Yeah, it was great, thanks. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I cried. Like it's just a different level of intimacy, I think. So taking it back to some of the questions, there's one here that around productivity. So saying, are you finding there's an acceptance in your business that productivity will drop, and how is that being managed with people? Is that something you guys are discussing and talking about, Mick?
Yeah, I mean, it is being discussed. I think it's been a pleasant surprise at Covea, because I'll be honest, I expected the sprint cadence to drop as people got used to this way of working, as people started climbing the walls with frustration. I've been pleasantly surprised by just how good the sprint metrics have been. In some areas, they've even gone up because people have finally gone, my God, I don't have to go to 17 meetings a day. I can actually do the role that you've employed me to do. So that's been really, really cool to see. And the other thing is almost a bit of a siege mentality. So being blunt, the business don't expect us to do anything of note in this particular scenario that we find ourselves in. And it's almost to challenge ourselves to go, so what could we surprise the business with? Can you imagine if we come out of this after 2 or 3 months and go, "Ta-da, here's this brand new amazing thing that we've built." And people have seemed to have latched onto that and gone, yeah, I want to prove them wrong. I really want to prove our worth, but not in a I want to prove that you need to still employ me. It's just look at the surprises and the skill sets that we've got.
Okay. Okay, good. So moving on, we've got some other questions, but I'm just looking through if there's anything I think. Oh, maybe we should move on a little bit and talk about, because I think you've touched on it there around innovation and doing new things. And I personally think for me, like, it's a time to get my head down, work really hard, hustle, like innovate any way we can. We're finding new ways of working. We're like, you know, leaning on new technologies. Has anybody got anything that they think is like come out of this, you know, like a positive from a technology perspective that has come out of the crisis?
I don't think, has it been really innovative? We've started really thinking about post-COVID and what's going to change. You know, my section of the business focuses on tech delivery to health, and we see COVID as the catalyst to really drive some of the sort of like channel shift that we've seen in lots of other industries. So we're already talking about post-COVID technology. We're talking about, you know, remote working, remote consultations, and that becoming not a thing that's just to be done in an emergency, but is actually going to be done as the norm. And what are the technology solutions that we can bring? And that starts talking about IoT and remote monitoring of people and all that sort of good stuff. So we're already now, you know, using the time, because you don't usually get this time, do you? So using the time to actually start thinking and coming up with solutions and potential solutions that are going to be needed, or actually people are ready to embrace once we get out of this this challenge. So yeah, that's sort of what we've been doing. And it's been quite nice actually to have some think time instead of just running around like a lunatic.
And you, Tammy?
Yeah, so we, even before COVID, we were planning to start a massive digital transformation from the 1st of April. And then this came along and there was some question about, should we still do this? Should we not? Is it the right time? And in the end, it's like, no, we've put too much work into this, and we've gone at it full tilt. And that's where some of the recruitment came from. So we're gearing up for all the extra people we need to do that. So that's been really good. So we are still looking at how do we change to be where we want to be in 5 years' time. But equally on the everyday front, it's been really good to see how everyone's pulled together, a bit like Mick said. We, like I said, being technology and being broadband, there was always an expectation that we were going to be busy. No,
yeah, I guess.
You know, you can't lay off of that. But that's not really the digital side of that. Some of it is, but what we did, watching everyone pivot to be able to say, right, how do we help not just our customers and our end customers more, how do we help our call centre people so that they don't have to go in as often? How can we change things? And we changed all the priorities of everything we were working on to make sure we were COVID focused, so that people could self-serve, so that they didn't have to go into shops and to try and get help, or in call centres and put extra space in there. So that has been really interesting to see today. We've all done that from our living rooms, our offices, our bedrooms. It's been really, really eye-opening to see, and I'm really proud of everyone who's been part of it. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, I think I speak to a lot of businesses, and I hear like organisations that have, you know, found this very, very tough, but have just completely pivoted to delivering something else. So fashion designers making, you know, gowns for hospitals and all those crazy things that are happening. But I mean, our most exciting thing, which probably talks a little bit about my business, is that we implemented Teams, and it was like, oh, what's this new tool? And then basically Skype fell over within like 24 hours of lockdown, and we did a full Teams implementation, I think in 24 hours across the whole business, of like tens of thousands of people were just like in. It's moved technology quite quickly. Mick, anything from you?
A similar story with Slack, really. We were in a situation where we were almost accused of having Slack as an IT-only tool, and would we support it, would we not? And then we had some challenges with overloading our virtual private network. So we needed everyone to kind of step away from that email side of things. And then suddenly the entire business is on Slack and everyone loves it. And it's like, just get these tools in people's hands and people vote with their feet. So your Skype story resonates with me.
Okay. And then maybe moving on to you as individuals, how are you, as a question from Beth here, how are you keeping yourself motivated and how are you keeping your teams motivated? So we talked a little bit about the piece around, you know, like fun and quizzes and all that sort of thing, but actually, you know, on a more, you know, personal level, how are you taking care of yourselves?
I'm adapting. I'm adapting, and do you know what? It's really interesting. I have crap days as well. So I've sort of, and I as much as, you know, I'm almost working out that I have one rubbish day a week, where actually I'm really struggling to be motivated to just get on with my normal stuff. But the other days I'm brilliant, he says. And I was saying to you guys earlier, I think I'm trying to, there's two things. So one is obviously getting work done and making sure, you know, you're doing this stuff, supporting the teams and all the rest of it. But there's also an element about my mindfulness. So I'm using exercise, my one exercise per day. I'm really taking advantage of it, and I'm either running or cycling or sometimes walking every day. I'm doing that in the middle of the day as opposed to first thing or last thing, to almost clear my mind, to keep me motivated. I'm, like you say, Sarah, I think we're sharing more than we've ever shared before.
Don't we?
You know, and that's, you know, keeping me and others motivated and upbeat and the rest of it, because it's very easy. I mean, you know, you read those text messages and then the news and it is just a spiral of very, very awful news. And it's real, but actually you could spend 24 hours reading all that stuff and just, you know. So I think it's really important to, you know, almost adapt, as I keep saying, but also find something that keeps you going and can keep others going as well. But also sort of accepting our own weaknesses, if I can call it that, and our own challenges that this brings. It's not great, it's not amazing, but we've got to adapt and we've got to keep at it.
Okay. So it generally feels like there's a theme when you speak to people. They're either exercising or drinking or doing both. So that's Mick, which are you doing?
As you can tell, I will be heavily drinking throughout. No, I think going back to the kind of the core question, I think for me, it's being humble and being prepared to be vulnerable. I think, especially in leadership role, one of my peers, Neil, who's our head of architecture, I love his phrase around vulnerable leadership. And I think it's about saying to people all of the time, it's okay to not be okay. I've had some of my peers contact me going, you're on a video conference call this morning and you looked awful and you looked like you were struggling. And not being able to react angrily to that, to go, yeah, I was actually struggling. And being able to cancel a meeting and just go, I need to go for a walk. I don't want to wait until the end of the day. I need to go and get some fresh air or go and stand in the garden. And Cleveland, I think you were talking earlier around how you'd all done all of your video conferencing from the garden today. So if you have got some space to try and change that. And, you know, the motivation thing, we all have our off days. One of the things that myself and my wife have tried to do recently is have a day off news once a week. So no social media, no BBC News, no Sky News, no TV, and just almost forget everything that's going on and try and have a clean day.
Sounds good. Tammy?
I think it's such what you guys have said, really, but it's definitely, you've got to be more open and you've got to be more honest with people. So, like you said, Cleveland, it's all right to let other people, even though you're in leadership, say, you know what, today's not one of my better days. I'm really sorry, guys. I'm struggling a little bit. And then when I've done that, I found that they're really good. They're like, all right, have you tried doing this? Oh, what about doing that? And it's like, and they've come up with things I wouldn't have thought of. And it's really good. And I found myself sort of saying to people like, look, this is a strange situation. Stop thinking about, oh, when do we get out of this? When do we get out of this? Just try and accept it's for now. This is our new norm for now. But in the same time, look for some positives. Look for the things that you're really enjoying getting the opportunity to do now, or the way we've done something now that you want us to keep doing. when we get back to normal. For me, there is no going back to normal. We need to take there is some good in this. We've got to find the good in this. So take that back with us when the doors are open and we're allowed to venture further than the end of your garden. And I think the other side is be careful sometimes in what you're saying, because I get very conscious that a lot of my guys are in London and up north. I've realised the benefit that I have in having the garden that I have. That for a long time I really hated, because it had to be looked after and maintained and all of that. Now is suddenly my saviour. Because like I said, even if you can't go anywhere else, if you've only got 20 minutes, I can stand in my garden, I can see birds, I can see nature, and it's fabulous. And there's some people who are in small flats or small spaces with no outside space. So just be a little bit conscious too about who you're talking to and how, and then think about how to help those people. So it's not as easy for them to just bob outside for a wee while because they don't have that space.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, this is reality. This is work. This is what we're doing. And we have to like shift, we have to change, and we have to accept it. But I think for me, I have been living day by day. I think that I don't like to think about the bigger picture right now. And I don't like to think about what 3 months looks like. I think that if I manage it in small pieces, it becomes a lot easier for me as a human. If I start thinking about, oh my God, what if this and blah, blah, and watch big chunks of news, my head just falls off entirely.
Different things work for different people too.
Yeah. Some
people, for them to see that daily update every day, they need it because it helps them and it helps them feel in control. Whereas I've got other people who have said, right, and they're like, I'm gonna get very anxious when I'm doing this. I'm like, so why do you watch it?
Stop watching it, yeah.
Literally just like, stop watching it. And they're like, oh. I said, just for today, just don't watch it today and we'll have a quick catch up tomorrow. And they're like, do you know, that really helped. I'm not saying I won't watch it every day, but like you said, have that one day a week or whatever and just take that time, but do what's right for you as an individual. What's right for me won't be right for somebody else. And that's okay as well.
No, and I think it's allowing people to feel they can be honest and vulnerable as well. So I had a cry on a call at work, just had a cry. Just it was one of those days, everything was out of control. My son was supposed to be learning. I was supposed to be on a conference call. I thought, I can't manage this. I live on my own, and I had a little cry. And I felt like, oh my God, I'm crying on a call. People were like, are you crying? I'm absolutely crying. But I think it made everybody else then feel comfortable about having emotion and being human. And I think that everybody needs to know that, at least, I'm pretty sure everybody's had a COVID meltdown by now.
Yeah. Yeah. As an old boss used to say to me, everyone wipes their own ass. So, everyone has those moments. They may not be willing or have been in the past willing to share and talk about them. But, we're only human. No one's any different unless you're Donald Trump.
Yeah.
The more I said about that, the better.
I think Ronaldo took his family off to an island though, didn't he?
Oh, did he? There you go.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about sort of remaining visible, and I work in business development, so I need to still be out and about. I'm still going on lots of different calls and networking, doing this tonight. So I was wondering about personal branding, what you guys are doing out there to make sure that you're still visible, or is it actually that you're really enjoying not being visible? So, you're not having to go to networking events, you're not having to do all that stuff. How do you feel about it?
I found it really mixed. Definitely mixed, being around people and the office and kind of networking you get to do there in different areas people won't normally speak to. I'm finding that more difficult when it's remotely, because it's easier if someone can make an introduction personally over the phone. It's not quite the same, or a video call. But I do miss more of the event side of it. If I'm honest, I've really missed that. So doing this tonight is good. Very different, got to admit. A bit strange being sat in your own living room, but actually I'm really glad I've done it, because it's been good to see other people and hear the questions and see how people are feeling, which is good, because I'm doing another one in a couple of weeks.
Do you know what I miss? I miss like seeing people and just like having a hug and like cuddling my friends, and I miss that the most. What about you two? Cleveland, Nick?
Yeah, do you know what? It's so funny actually, because like the rest of you, lots of networking and stuff in my role, and I get to have lots of nice meals and stuff out. So I'm missing. I've not been out for a meal for 22 days. So I am missing a bit of that networking, having a bite to eat, having a drink, meeting people, and I meet people pretty much every day in my job. So I am missing that. I'm doing a lot of it by video, but it's not the same. So yeah, it's I'm missing the networking. Interestingly, online, I think there's a bit of both, Sarah. To be honest, I think there's an element of when I am online with my personal branding or whatever else, it's about making sure it's relevant. But I'm also taking the time not to be on it as much as I was. I don't know. It just seems to, for me, a lot of the personal branding, the online presence and everything else follows what I normally do. And because I'm not normally doing that, it just sometimes feels as though it might be a bit forced. So I'm doing both, a bit when it's relevant, but actually taking a bit of a break.
Yeah, and you, Mick?
I think 2 points from me. The first would be similar to changing the way that we work forever. I do a talk about digital burnout, and you get to the end of the day and you're like, I really want to go to that particular event, but it's in Leeds, I'm in Halifax, it's going to take me an hour to get there, then I won't see my family. There's no reason that when we go back to normal, if we ever do get back to normal, why these sort of events shouldn't be digitally streamed. We have people with access issues that might not be able to get into the city centre to see these sort of events. And myself personally, around networking, I think the important thing for me is to, on the one hand, we've got someone who works in health, and on the other hand, we've got someone who looks after our broadband, and then you've got the man who's in insurance. So it's a slightly different industry. And I think it's been reminded that it's not just you that's networking, you still represent and reflect your company, and it's being respectful of the situation. So, I don't want people to perceive that the insurance sector is making money hand over fist right now. We're not. Because there will be a reckoning when this is all done. I'm a Newcastle United fan, and sadly we're owned by Mike Ashley of Sports Direct, and their behaviour through this has been absolutely disgraceful. So I think the thing is just to remind yourselves that you are representing your company, and how people perceive the actions of you trying to network on behalf of your company could be an interesting challenge.
Yeah, and I need to plug Leeds Digital Festival while I'm here, because Leeds Digital Festival is going to happen back end of September, but they're putting on a virtual festival. So when we were looking at it, we were like, oh, we'll get like 15, 20 events. And I believe there are 90 events going on in the next couple of weeks, so from next week. So it's an amazing opportunity to find out what's going on, meet up with people, hear exciting things, hear very honest things. I'm doing an event on mental health. We're doing a bit of a warts and all mental health session, which I'm really excited about with BGSS. So I would advise everybody over the next couple of weeks, if you're feeling a bit down or lonely, there's going to be loads of opportunities to go and talk with people and find out interesting things. And probably, we've not got that much time left, but I think, they're probably going to be covering, little key aspects of some of the things that we've talked about as well. Okay. And also there is, I don't know if anyone just plug something else on here. There's also a Leeds Digital lunch that goes on a Wednesday and a Friday. So I don't know if anybody knows about it, but Stuart Clark from Digital Festival and Jem Henderson from Pet Nation run it. And it's a drop-in, anybody can drop in. So on a Wednesday or a Friday lunch, if you're feeling a bit down or you need a bit of company, it's a really good place to just go and talk, and it's really frank, honest conversation. So I'll ask the guys here to share the details on that, but it's quite nice sometimes, like Wednesday lunchtime, just to see some faces and have a break with a little bit of humanity. So we've got 15 minutes left. I'm going to have a look through some of these questions because I've neglected them, and I apologise to everybody who's put questions in.
I should say there's some really good chat comments coming up as well. They're really, really good.
Oh, I haven't seen them because I've got these questions open. Are any of our businesses providing an opportunity for employees to volunteer?
We've encouraged it across our staff base, and have basically, we've encouraged it. So we've, we do a lot of stuff in health, so you can imagine that we're we're pretty much linked. But yeah, we've totally allowed giving people, if they need time to do it as well. We think it's important, and we think that actually, and hope that post this event, people are going to start being a bit less selfish and wanting to do that further forward than just today. So yeah, it's we're big on it at the moment.
Okay. Anybody else? Is there anything you're aware of that your business is? I know that we are leading on the Manchester hospital, the COVID hospital at EY. So employees have been given the opportunity to leave their day job and go and work on that project, including roles actually within the hospital, and the uptake has been really high. So it just shows that people really, really do give a shit and are going and actually, you know, putting themselves on the line to help other people. So I do think humanity is proving itself at the moment.
I mean, we have 3 volunteering days a year, regardless. We have those all the time, and they are woefully underused. So hopefully this, you know, people are taking the opportunity now to use those, and I'm hoping they continue to do that, like you say, Cleveland, be a little bit less selfish going forward. And to be fair, I don't think it's from a bad place. I think people forget they have them. You get told about them when you start, and then you kind of forget. But yeah, so obviously we've got to try and strike a balance between the support we need to try and keep everything going at the minute, but definitely if people are looking to try and volunteer, we're doing all we can to try and help support that, and like I said, maybe change working hours around and things like that too, to help people, even if it's not volunteering, if they have vulnerable people they need support. You know, it might be supermarkets are quieter at 11 in the morning, well then go then. Nobody's saying it's got to be after work. Be sensible. We trust you to use your time as and when you need to do it, so please do that. And like you said, so people with kids, it's like, it's so hard. So if they need some time in the morning, it's like, well then, you know, be around, have your phone, do some online stuff. But then if you can be focused in the afternoon, because then your wife takes over in the morning, do that. And we're having lots of really open conversations with people to see what works best for them and what's going to help them and their families.
And I think that's the thing as well, you know, it's a difficult situation for everybody, but there are probably there are lots of people who are in much worse situations than we are on this panel today. You know, there's a lot of children who aren't getting fed. There's a lot of major things going on in the city. So I think, you know, anything people can do with regards to supporting the community and charities, because they really need help right now. I don't know, Cleveland, if you want to talk about Leeds Community Foundation, sort of what's going on there.
Nice plug. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I've mentioned, you know, Leeds Community Foundation are major support of local charities, and a lot of the charities that are the less well known, the big names. So we've one of the things we've been hugely connected to is healthy holidays. So it's really sad the amount of individuals. School holidays is one of their worst times. They don't get a meal because their free school meal is their main meal of the day. And clearly no one's at school at the moment, even though they've opened school for the most vulnerable, still a lot of people who are in those positions are not actually going to schools. So we've just started 2 new funds that are basically about supporting a lot of the people that are having the most needs right now. And as you say, Sarah, there are, sadly, in our city, as rich as Leeds is and as affluent and as great as it is, Leeds has also got significant challenges with those individuals, those vulnerable individuals, be it poverty, health, or otherwise, that are very close to us. So, you know, if I could encourage everyone to have a look at the Leeds Community Foundation website, have a look at the things that we're trying to do to support everything from our homeless to our elderly to our poverty and the rest. So we've created a fund specifically and diverted some funding specifically to support people during this period. And it's some of the things that we're seeing are quite sad and quite frightening. I'm sure you've heard in the news, but it's happening where we're seeing a greater number of abuse, be it children, be it in the home, because people are locked in their houses. So, you know, we're trying to provide as much support as we can. I think those needs have just magnified during this period. So look out, guys, much needed. Food banks, the rest, you know, we've all, especially us that are in much more, what I'd say, privileged positions. There's people out there that need our support and help.
agreed. Mick, anything you want to add to that, or I'm going to go on to a question?
I think for the purposes of time, I couldn't possibly beat Cleveland's little speech there.
Yeah. And do you know what? The Leeds Community Foundation do so much important work in the city, and they touch so many different charities. I totally agree and support you on that. So I've got a couple more questions. I have one from a friend of mine here, so I should read it. Victoria Tomlinson. Can I get your views on how people feel about asking for help? We launched a site with an amazing senior people offering free mentoring. Loads of mentors have signed up, finding it really slow to get mentees. I've spoken to a few entrepreneurs and they feel reluctant to talk about their feelings of failure, or others are too busy to find time to find a mentor. Does this resonate with anyone? Any tips on how to get people to take up help?
My view on that, just to start off, I think that's a brilliant idea. It's the first I've heard of it. I'll say now I'll be signing up after this call, so if we can get the website or something like that. I think the honest answer, especially from my own experience, is my business in the past sort of three and a half weeks has been in an absolute drive to make sure that the business itself is protected and that we don't have to be facing redundancy or furlough. So days have felt really, really long. People have been really, really busy. And I think for me personally, this week has been the first week where I've been able to sit back and go, right, it's started to slightly calm down a little bit. How can I now help? So that's definitely something that in theory, other organisations will be feeling and other individuals. So if people are starting to slowly have a little bit more time, I think now's the time to hit home and volunteer for these sort of things.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think people thought it was going to last as long as it did. I think they thought it was going to be a couple of weeks. We're back to normal, back in the offices, back at the pub. But it's not going to be. I mean, you just need to look at what's going on around in France and Spain to know that. So I think, like you said, Mick, it's that settling in period. Either people have been really busy trying to protect and make sure people still have jobs to come out of this with, or shore up how they work from home, get tech in place, do all of that. Where I think people now are settling into that, and it is becoming the norm and people are accepting it. Maybe that's what stopped people from taking advantage of these things, or they've not seen it. So if some people are staying away from news and things so that they don't see the horrible things that are going on, and like I said, if you switch off your social media, they're going to miss some of those opportunities that are out there, and that's the downside of that. Obviously, protecting your mental health comes first. So if that's what you need to do, then great. But this might be why they're struggling as well. So I think some people will be staying away from some of the social media that normally be on.
Yeah. Okay, so if anybody wants to be a mentee, Victoria Tomlinson needs you. I think the event's on the Leeds Digital Festival website, but in amazing events she puts on, and I think, you know, everybody needs a mentor mentee. People should definitely get involved. I've signed up as a mentor, but actually I wouldn't mind a mentee. I wouldn't mind being a mentee to somebody as well at the moment. So okay. Having a look at a few more questions because we are running out of time. We have 8 minutes and we have a hard finish. So let's have a quick look. Maybe we can get one or two more in. Let's have a look. Okay. What have we got? What about returning? So are any companies thinking about staff who are furloughed and getting back up to speed once they return to work, bearing in mind the duration of lockdown can continue late into May? So it's interesting this, and before we get into that question, I've had conversations with people where they have furloughed their staff, but they've furloughed a percentage of their staff, and it's caused a real divide in the business and the business culture. So there are people who are getting paid almost the same to stay at home, sunbathe and paint their houses. And then there are people who are in the office carrying the weight of the furloughed people and feeling really resentful, you know, happy to be supporting the business, but feeling really resentful. And then also those people at home are thinking, why was I furloughed? Is it a bit late because I'm not as good as those people and they're stronger than me? And it's built a divided workforce. So I'm interested on people's opinions around that. Is anyone experiencing furlough in that world?
I'm seeing it from not within my own company. I won't name the companies and the people I've spoken to about it, but I have seen an us and them mentality in some of the people within my network. Exactly as you say, Sarah, where people are saying, why am I working and propping up someone who's sat at home? Is my role not as important? And I think that that's just underlined the really difficult decisions that some companies have had to make. You know, I'm in a company that's been lucky enough to have the financial backing to sit down and go, either we furlough everyone or we furlough no one, because we didn't want to create that two-tiered system. So I haven't got personal experience of it myself, but I am seeing it, and I think it's going to be a really difficult thing for those companies to plan. I go back to my point around Sports Direct. It's a much less severe example, but there are going to be people who, when this is all said and done, will look at their actions of their employer and think whether they were ethical or whether they agreed with them or not.
People are going to walk as well, you know. I think there will be a huge movement of people across businesses. So people will sit tight, you know, where they have to. But if they've been treated badly during this, they are going to move when the situation changes.
No, I agree. I mean, like Mick, I've been very lucky. My organisation at this moment in time has not had to furlough or make anyone redundant. What we have done is we have deferred annual pay increases. Personally, I think that's an easy problem to bear at the second, you know, bring it on sort of thing. So we've been extremely lucky in that way. But like Mick says, you know, I'm aware of individuals that I even know or organisations that they work for, where there's been both those scenarios: mass furlough of staff and or partial. And it sounds a bit of a mess, to be honest. Both for the situations that has just been mentioned, you know, some working, some not. But what happens at the end of it? You know, those that come back. But I was talking to a chief exec of a I won't mention the company, but it's a significant organisation that recruits quite a lot of people in tech in Leeds. And she says, as he starts getting closer to revealing who, she said, this is going to be one of those. This is almost going to be like, you know, the Christmas New Year period where everybody starts thinking about their career and go, am I going to change roles, organisations next year? This is the period that people will be doing this as well. And as you say, Sarah, I think we're going to see, when we get out of this, everyone's just wanting to batten down the hatches, make sure the bills are paid and all the rest. But there's going to be a major movement of individuals. And we're going to see some of the organisations people want to work for and don't want to work for as well. So it'd be interesting to see what happens.
So we've got 2 minutes because it's the fact for the NHS at 8 o'clock and we can't run into that. But maybe everybody wants to just very quickly give their one piece of advice for getting through COVID at the moment, the one thing that they could leave people with today. So anyone want to go first?
Yeah, well, for me, it's be honest. Be honest with yourself and be honest with everyone who's around you, whether that be family, friends, or people you work with. Be honest and look after yourself. Your health is important, so take the time. There will be an end to this, and it'd be good if we're all still here working with each other to support each other to do it.
Cool.
And that's what I'll leave it with.
Cleveland, Mick, anything you want to add?
I'd say the same. I mean, things I've been saying to people is listen, understand, share, have a bit of fun, take some time out for you as well as everyone else, and empathise, because, you know, we're all in slightly different situations. Let's get a bit of understanding. So yeah, that's me. But enjoy it while you can.
Cool. Mick?
Mine's a practical one. Don't underestimate the power of the commute. I like to be able to go for a walk on my way to work. Make sure you're packing your laptops away at the end of the day. Your house is not just your office, it's also where you live.
Yeah.
So make sure that you separate the two. And to quote my favourite film, Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I think that's pretty much it. So we need to wrap it up and say goodbye. But thank you so much, everybody. It would be interesting to hear if anybody would like to do another one of these. So we're talking about maybe doing a series. So if people would be interested, it would be great to get some feedback. Go clap for the NHS. Thank you so much for coming, and hope to meet you again.
Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Are we still live?
We're still live.